Start. Thank you everybody for coming tonight. Before we start the program, I wanted to recognize some of the members in this room. We have our board of directors, Teresa Amato, standing over there waving. Hi, Teresa. She's our board president and, of course, the founder of Citizen Advocacy Center 20 years ago. Gordon, did Gordon come? I don't think Gordon's here. I think it's just you, Teresa. And Barb is our former board member. She's sitting right here. And she's an honorary Emeritus board member, so thanks Barb for being here. We also have some advisory council members here, Ellen Raymond. So here she is. Ellen, right here. So thank you. I want to recognize one of our extraordinary volunteers, Terry Lean. Where's Terry? Oh, Terry. And David Correcca as well. David? Where's David? Did he come? Oh, he may have not showed up yet. No, he's here. Oh, he's here? Okay. He may have stepped out of the room. And I just wanted to take a moment to let you all know about the really busy year that we've had. I wanted to highlight a few things. The Civic Education Task Force completed its report, and we have the chair of the task force here, Sean Haley, who is a scholar over at the McCormick Foundation. And our task force completed its report. We had 4 public hearings throughout the state. And you may have seen the Chicago Tribune article on the front page last week, Monday, reporting on task force accomplishments and the recommendations that we have made. And we'll be fighting, hopefully in this next legislative session, to get those recommendations into legislation. During Constitution Week this year, we had an extraordinary speaker, Qasim Rashid, who is a human rights activist and wrote the book, The Wrong Kind of Muslim. So we were showcasing the free exercise clause this year. He spoke to hundreds of students during Constitution Week, emphasizing the importance of the free exercise clause. Next year we'll be showcasing the right to petition your government, and if anyone knows a dynamic young person who has petitioned their government and might want to be a Constitution speaker, please contact the CAC, because we're always looking for dynamic young people to be examples for our youth and to showcase really how our youth can utilize their rights to do good for the community. We also had a stunningly successful summer intern program, much due to the efforts of our community lawyer, Andrea Alvarez, who's standing right here. I know a lot of you know her. And we are going to recreate that stunning program this next year. Andrea's already been really busy, already interviewing students for next year. We're also putting together our Public Access Counselor Determination Letter public database. I know some of you have been waiting for this to come out. We nearly analyzed something like 400 determination letters, and I just got a call yesterday from a Northwestern law student who told me that because of the results of our preliminary 100 determination letters, he was able to locate a case that he utilized in his request for review to the public access counselor, and he received a favorable ruling. And I think that it expedited his request for review because he was able to pinpoint the right public access counselor determination letter. So we're still working on that project, and look for the publication of those nearly 400 determination letters, either on our website or on our the group that we're collaborating with, the Chicago Headline Club. So they'll also have it on their website. In collaboration with the Illinois Press Association, we released a statewide survey of Open Meetings Act website notice compliance provisions, and what we showed was that, frankly, it's pretty deplorable. There's deplorable compliance by public bodies. School districts are the best at it. And believe it or not, the county, there's only 102 of them, they're the worst. So you can find that report on the Illinois Press Association's website. And the General Assembly has been really busy this holiday season rolling back our rights to public records. So we recently fought 2 bad FOIA bills, and I'm sure many of you have received our emails asking you to contact your representatives, and thank you so much for doing so. So we won some and we lost some. The good news is that we defeated a bill that would have codified a bad Illinois appellate court ruling that would have limited attorney fee awards to successful FOIA requests. So that was really great. And also what was defeated was a provision that would have made it possible for public bodies to withhold even factual information under the preliminary draft exception. They were trying to codify withholding factual information from you all based on that preliminary draft exception, and that was defeated. So that was really good news. Unfortunately, the voluminous request bill passed, and in that includes onerous fees for electronic records that are made in a voluminous request. The good news is that nonprofits like Citizen Advocacy Center have a pass, and we will never be considered a voluminous requester. So if anyone is in fear of being called a voluminous requester, we will sign your FOIA request for you, we will obtain your FOIA response for you, and we will disseminate it on our website to meet the letter of the law. So never fear, CAC is here. And of course, we expect that there's going to be more FOIA rollback measures in this upcoming spring session. So look for more emails from us, and thank you so much for your efforts in trying to preserve our strong FOIA law. We have to be ever vigilant because our legislators, unfortunately, some of them were former public officials, and they had a lot of sympathy for the FOIA, the fact that our public bodies do get some FOIA requests from some people that they consider to be harassing. Of course, it's all a matter of perspective. So we don't know if they're actually being harassing. They might actually be asking the right questions and trying to figure out what activity that their government body is doing. So please look for more emails from us. And another large part of this past year is that we've been speaking out against numerous really bad public comment policies, unconstitutional policies, where your governments are trying to get you to sit down and shut up, basically. They don't want to hear what you have to say. So Andrea has been really active, and I've been joining in, going out to park districts, community colleges, municipalities, counties, I don't know where, libraries, fighting against these policies, trying to keep them off the books so that you all are not intimidated by these really bad public comment policies. Okay, so now for the program. We have 4 dynamic groups and individuals that we want to showcase this year. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Citizen Initiative Award. So this is our 18th year of giving out Citizen Initiative Awards. We started in 1997. And this award is to honor those individuals who are dynamic in their communities. They make Freedom of Information Act requests. They go to public meetings. They report violations that they witness at public meetings. They make requests for review. They speak out at public comment. And oftentimes, these individuals are labeled troublemakers and agitators and radicals. But we know better, and we want to honor them. They're very rarely honored, and oftentimes they feel really small because of the press that they get from the government bodies. And really it's inspirational to hear about their triumphs in the face of really the intimidation and the tactics that government bodies use to silence them. So, the first group that I would like to recognize is the Plainfield Township Park District Monitors, and they call themselves Park Truth. And they're all sitting over here, so I'm not going to have you stand up or anything. You all can look over here. Can you bring over the... So, this award says it's in recognition of their outstanding efforts in organizing community members to scrupulously monitor Plainfield Township Park District, as well as stand up to attempts to suppress public participation. Let me tell you a little bit about what this group has encountered. Okay, they have fought so many battles, and this list reads like a how-to for every trick in the book. So, it started with the hiring of unqualified employees, and the firing of qualified employees, and the promotion of employees who Park Truth believed to be ill-suited to their jobs. One of the Park Truth members started to videotape Plainfield Township Park District meetings if they weren't made available to members of the public who could not make meetings. And that didn't go over very well with the elected board members. And they tried to intimidate Vicki Polito, who was not able to make it tonight. She was the videotaper. And in fact, Park Truth tried to intimidate her by kicking her out of meetings and having her escorted out by the police. And even issuing her a notice of trespass to keep her from attending future Plainfield Township Park District meetings. Nice try. In addition, there were attempts to keep employee contracts confidential by including confidentiality clauses in that employee's contract. Nice try. Upon questioning irregularities in the open meetings, some members rightfully used the mediation process that's in our Attorney General's office with the Public Access Counselor to obtain some answers about these irregularities. And some of those rulings were favorable to the public body. So what did Plainfield Township Park District do? They posted those determination letters on their website and called these members radicals and tried to silence them. And CAC was successful eventually to get the government to take down that derogatory label. We all knew that these Park Truth members were not radicals, except for the sense that they were monitoring their local government. Then there was an edict from the executive director that the staff of the Plainfield Township Park District could not speak to any of the Park District commissioners, and they had to go through the executive director if they had any conversation that they wanted to have with the commissioners. So that was not cool. They attempted to reschedule the regular meetings of the Township Park District to create a conflict for a board member who couldn't make meetings on a particular night. That was unsuccessful. The board also tried to use the rule of 3 to eliminate citizen-initiated referenda. So for those of you who don't know what the rule of 3 is, government bodies in Illinois are allowed 3 referenda on their ballots, but the elected officials kind of get first stab at placing those referenda on the ballot, and if they decide to put 3 on there, then they shut out any citizen attempts to place referenda on that ballot. And Plainfield Township Park District did that from the get-go. They had their 3 lined up to prevent Park Truth and other members of Plainfield from putting a referenda on the ballot. Then they wrote a public comment policy to silence dissent. And it was a heavy-handed policy that included such provisions such as avoiding personal remarks, the impugning of motives, and merely contentious statements. And I need not tell all of you probably that those are very obvious content-based regulations that are not allowed underneath our First Amendment. How about the time when the elected officials were playing tic-tac-toe on the dais during public comment? And they caught that on tape. That was really interesting. These members of Park Truth had to deal with nepotism, including the purchase of light bulbs from a family friend of one of the board members' businesses, the stringing of contracts, 6 checks for nearly $5,000 each, firings in the wake of union organizing, resulting in citations from the National Labor Relations Bureau, NLRB, report, I'm sorry. How about the purchase of assets using government funds for personal use by employees? And the good news is that our General Assembly passed some legislation so that Plainfield could actually expand their Park District's board so that in the future a small majority could not take over. And so that was successful, and so they were able to increase the number of members on their Park District. So I want to call up you all to accept this award. Come on up. So again, I just want to let you all know that this group, Park Truth, have been absolutely relentless in their monitoring of Plainfield Township Park District, and we are so proud of them, and we want to honor them tonight for their hard work. They are radicals in the sense that they're CAC radicals. So thank you so much, all of you. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you. Thank you for all the help you provided along the way. We knew things were wrong, and we knew that the public comment and so forth would help get us through it. But with the shutdown public comment, we really needed some help, and you were there to help us and give us some really good advice. And that was wonderful. There's only 4 of us here tonight, but there was really 14 or 15 of us that were the core group, and through social media, we had some really big turnouts. They had to move boardrooms to new venues. We packed the house during the budget hearings and so forth as we watched them pay down our budget surpluses. So that's one of the ripples we have in the pond, as well as the patronage hiring. We still have that. But I want to share with you that that director that was such a knucklehead that had no experience in running an organization like that, he resigned. And in charge of that directorship. Then we have 2 new board members, so we outweigh the knuckleheads that are on board. Thank you again.
All right. So, thank you. So our next honoree is Joan Metz, and I'm going to have you come on up, Joan. So Joan Metz, she is a monitor in the village of Indian Head Park. Now, Joan started videotaping Indian Head Park meetings because they were not videotaping it, and they didn't like that, and so they implemented barriers to keep her from videotaping. The win was that Indian Head Park started taping their own meetings, so that was good. Joan also created a blog to post the many omissions that the board made in their meeting minutes, and she made those omissions known on her blog. Joan found that the village president, who made a $1 salary as liquor commissioner, had $60,000 or so in reimbursements of healthcare expenses, all at his own discretion. So he got to decide whether or not he was reimbursed for his healthcare expenses. Embarrassed by this information, the board voted to eliminate that perk. Joan then did some further Freedom of Information Act requests, and the records showed that healthcare reimbursements for the president and his predecessor amounted to something like $400,000 over a 10-year period. Now, mind you, Indian Head Park is a town of less than 4,000 people. She also obtained a favorable Open Meetings Act request for review from the Public Access Counselor. The village board had met in closed session purportedly to discuss personnel issues. And most of you know that the exception for personnel issues has to be because the board is discussing a specific named employee or specific named employees. Well, the Public Access Counselor agreed with Joan after reviewing the closed session audio tapes that there was a violation because the board discussed general considerations related to employment for much of that closed door meeting. And while we're all busy people, what's very remarkable is that Joan did this with 4 children at home, 1 child with special needs, while she volunteered at her children's school and worked a part-time job. So thank you so much, Joan, for the hard work. And in recognition of her outstanding efforts in monitoring the village of Indian Head Park and thereby bringing greater accountability to the village board actions, we honor Joan Metz this evening. Thank you so much. And I'm going to have Andrea, my full-time community lawyer extraordinaire, present the next 2 awards.
Thank you very much, Miriam. I have a cold, so if you can't hear me or I cough, I'm sorry. I'm going to be honoring first a group over here, this big group. So, walk over. Betsy, where are you? Betsy, come over, join your group. We have 4. We'll just get up again. This is Batavia Ratepayers for Fair Electricity. And you may have read about them in the Tribune and the Herald. And they're being recognized for their outstanding efforts to hold the city of Batavia accountable for fiscal concerns related to the power sales agreement with the Northern Illinois Municipal Power Agency, NIMPA, for electricity from the Prairie State Energy Campus. And I want to start, the first time I met with anyone from this group, I met with Betsy Zinser at Graham's Coffee Shop in downtown Geneva, and she had file upon file of FOIA documents and Excel sheets all showing this information that she'd been collecting for years from an agreement in 2007 that Batavia really had gotten the raw end of the deal and was paying too much for their electricity. So what this group has done is they have meticulously gone through every single document related to this 2007 agreement, and they've used the FOIA process. And in the process, they've become extremely knowledgeable and, dare I say, experts on electricity rates and usage. Some more background information. 2007, over Easter weekend, the Easter Monday after Easter, the city of Batavia signed an agreement to receive electricity from the Prairie State Energy Campus. This agreement increased the share of electricity Batavia was buying to 55 megawatts, which was more than Batavia was using. But they thought 2008 wasn't going to happen. They would use all this energy. They locked in to a rate. This agreement was voted on by City Council and signed the Monday after Easter. However, as we know, growth slowed, natural gas prices decreased, and cheaper resources became available. This caused Batavia and other municipal owners to purchase more power than it needs currently at a higher rate. The city of Batavia now has to sell the excess power at a loss. Additionally, the agreement that was signed helps pay for the construction costs of the power plant, which was estimated to be $2.5 billion, and then they built a different plant than they had originally stated. The cost ultimately ended up being $5 billion. Now, Batavia is budgeting about $15 million a year until 2040 to pay that back. Batavia ratepayers for fair electricity have questioned the integrity of the process from the beginning and whether there was full disclosure of information before signing the contract. Residents' questions went unanswered. They went to countless public meetings. They talked to their aldermen. They went to other groups and other municipalities to get to the bottom of it. They went beyond the state of Illinois to ask questions. Residents' questions continued to be unanswered, and the exact information was provided to the city that led them to believe that the agreement would protect ratepayers from volatile energy prices, but instead resulted in soaring construction costs, increased debt, and unstable electric wholesale costs. They utilized FOIA and they spent their countless hours going through the documents, and they collected over 1,000 petition signatures and presented the petition to the Batavia City Council, calling for an investigation into the city's powers provider and demanding increased transparency around contractual terms. The city of Batavia responded by officially requesting that the Illinois Attorney General investigate the contract to verify the terms and disclosure for its customers. And they're being recognized tonight for their outstanding efforts to hold the city of Batavia accountable. Let me get your certificate. That's here.
It's amazing how one meeting changed the course of things. And I think it was back in 2012 that I went and I spoke with Miriam, and I was just lost and confused, and the Citizen Advocacy Center was so incredibly helpful in guiding us on how to gather information and move down the road, and we just made a lot of progress after that meeting. And then Andrea, when she got on board, she was helpful in bringing a neighboring community, getting them a little bit more riled up and helpful in the cause. So this organization is just quite incredible, and I'm really happy to be here.
And congratulations again. So next we are going to be recognizing Jerry Saunders, so I'm going to ask Jerry to come up here and stand with me. So some of you may recognize Jerry. She was actually in one of our emails, her photo 2 weeks ago now, and she first came to a Citizen Advocacy Center event this past summer for intern night. So she may look familiar to you. So Jerry Saunders contacted CAC for the first time, and she called me up. I got a call from a woman who said, I was taken out of a meeting by a police officer when I was giving comment. And of course I did my normal, why were you escorted out? What did they do? And she told me I was asking questions, and they didn't like what I was asking about. So Jerry first came to us that way, and let me tell you a little bit about what Jerry was asking questions about. So she was at her local village board meeting in Hawthorne Woods, where she lives, and she was questioning the village board about public records and documents related to some transportation issues. Jerry's backyard touches train tracks, and she noticed that there were a lot more trains going through her backyard at all hours of the night since she moved in, and the increase had really happened within the last five years. So that's 2009, and she was wondering, why are all these trains with these big oil barrels going through my backyard? What's going on? Let me start asking some questions about this. So Jerry started utilizing the FOIA process and doing research on her own. She learned that the trains were carrying toxic, hazardous, and explosive substances back in crude oil, and that there had been several accidents with trains and with hazardous runoff. Further, she found accidents where people died from being near the train tracks when the train was derailed and the back in crude oil exploded. As Jerry became further involved in her investigation, she found that the process was secretive and that there wasn't disclosures. She found that municipalities, other than her own, had proactively questioned what was going on with the trains, and different agreements were occurring. So she took all the information she gathered at this point and took what she knew and went to her village board meeting in Hawthorne Woods, where she started asking questions during the public comment time period. During Ms. Jerry's polite, if forceful public comment, the board had her removed from the meeting by police. And then she asked if she could at least watch the meeting. They told her she wasn't allowed to. I attended the next meeting with Ms. Songer, and she continued to ask tough questions and was waiting on answers, and she continues to this day. And I have to say, I attended that next meeting with her, and I have not been to a meeting, and I've been to several meetings at this point where people have been escorted out by police, but I have not been to a meeting quite like this one. Ms. Songer has continued with her FOIA requests, and she continues to uncover new information about the dangers associated with back in crude oil, and she disseminates this information through her blog. She's also a teacher, and she educates her students about what's going on. And she's started a student group called Students for Democracy, where she's taught students in high school, mainly first-generation students from low-income backgrounds, what it means to be part of the democratic process. She's taught them about the Open Meetings Act and going out and speaking at your public meetings. She's taught them all about the various different public bodies that they live in Illinois, whether it be a municipality, a public library district, a school board district. They're in an unincorporated area, and she's gone over this with them and answered all their questions. And she speaks out about what's going on in their lives too. And at this meeting, she has also brought in CAC to come help educate the students about what's going on. And the students now go through FOIA requests with her and document the information they found. And they're going to be doing their own FOIA requests and hopefully attending a public meeting and making public comment. So for that, we are recognizing Jerry Songer, and it says, in recognition of her tenacity to standing up to the Hawthorne Woods Village Board regarding her right to seek documents and give public comment.
I just want to thank organizations, CAC. Before I met Andrea, I reached out to, I may have even been up to 1,000, politicians, legislators, villages, special interest groups, and I got one lawyer. And I'll tell you, this lawyer helped me navigate an issue that was overwhelming to me. These trains, it's not just my neighborhood. It's a three-country problem. And there's a government back into the policy. So people going past railroads, just like the one that is right near this restaurant, are very, very hazardous close to an explosion that's been compared to that of an atomic bomb. And if you go to the students, the number 4, democracy.net, if you go to the About page, you can look at what these explosions are like. In my community alone, I've got playgrounds, feet from these trains. Lake Zurich High School is right near these trains. Mundelein Township High School District 76, primary school. can't say enough about public education, although we get a bad rap sometimes. But one thing I do have to admit is that educators, this is something that's been overlooked. And I'd like to see a change. It may be slow, maybe not. The more people that speak out about it, the better chances that you can get the information to people who need to know. My students, they've uncovered volumes of information in a very short time that they're going to start working on, and hopefully will make a huge difference in our community. And hopefully that will multiply. Thank you very much.
So I just want to also thank everyone else here who is a monitor. We've got monitors of all different kinds of public bodies here. Thank you so much for the work that you do. If you're thinking of running for office, on our website, one of our other volunteers who I forgot to mention earlier, Stan Zagel, he has compiled a list of DuPage County open offices for all the different public bodies, and we have put that on our website so that you can take a look at that. Interestingly, all of our honorees tonight come from other counties. We have 4 different counties represented tonight, none of them DuPage. So that shows you really the reach that CAC has in northeastern Illinois. But the petitions do work in the other counties, and I think Stan's even been busy even cataloging in King County and some other counties. So he's the man, Stan the man, we call him. And, and Brian Conlon is here, who is another one of our board members. So thanks, Brian, for coming. He's sitting next to Teresa. So thank you all again for coming. I hope you feel inspired, and I hope that you'll contact Stacey if you have any questions. Thank you.